Hey, this is Big G, or Gene, or Gino, or Dad, or however you know me. And this is going to be lesson 20, taking the fear out of trading with risk management. So I built a few slides for us to look at, and we'll look at maybe a chart or two in this lesson. But we're going to get into kind of the nitty gritty of how do not just what to buy. We've been looking at a lot of charts in the past 19 lessons, and we've looked at the technical analysis and the stock chart analysis. And so we've talked about, what to buy and when to buy, but then how do you buy it? In other words, how much do you buy? How many shares do you buy? How do you know how much risk to take and all that? So that's where we're going with this lesson today, lesson 20. So let's get started on that. First of all, if you have not watched lesson 8 in a while, maybe the first thing you need to do is stop this video and go back and watch lesson 8, because in lesson 8 I talk about some of the things that you need to know regarding risk management. I give you some scenarios and all that. In lesson 8 we talked about looking for layups. We talked about looking for low risk trades and high reward trades. Layups in basketball, that's a low risk, high reward shot. And so we're looking for trades that are low risk and high reward. So look for layups. We're looking for trades that have good probabilities with them. We want to trade with the probabilities. And of course, you want to control your risk. And you need to assume that 50% of your trades will not go the direction that you wanted them to go. Professional traders are successful only about 40 to 60% of the time. So you can, be successful just 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10 trades, and still make money, because the key, of course, is you're going to exit the ones early that are not working your way. You're going to take small losses and you're going to ride the winners up. And again, this is something that I talked about back in lesson 8. So again, just go back and watch lesson 8 if you haven't watched it lately, or maybe you watched it once and you've forgotten some of the stuff. So go back and look at that, and that would be a good start as we continue to talk about risk management. So how much do you risk, and why is it important to control your risk? Well, if you lose 10% of your account, maybe on one trade or several trades, it only takes about a little over 11% to make that up. Now, think about that for a minute. Just kind of do the math in your head. If you have, let's say, a $10,000 account and you lose 10% of that account, you lost $1,000, so you have $9,000, right? Well, you need to make more than 10% on that $9,000 to get back to $10,000, because 10% of $9,000 is only $900. So if you're at $9,000 and you make 10%, you're at $9,900. So you need to make a little over 11% to get back to the 10,000. So I know that's a lot of math in your head. I probably should have written that down for you, but if you can just kind of follow along, if you lose 10%, you got to make a little bit more than that to make that up and get it back to where you started. If you lose 20%, you have to make 25% to make up that loss of 20% to get back to even. If you lose 50%, you've got to make 100% back in order to break even, and 60% you've got to make 150%. And of course, it gets worse as these numbers get bigger. So the key is, losing a little bit along the way is not going to hurt you. It's big losses and taking too much risk. That's where you're going to lose your mind. You're going to lose your money. You're going to hate trading. You're going to hate me. You're going to hate Wall Street, blah, blah, blah. So you just got to be careful and control your risk and not take too many chances, or any chances really, but knowing exactly what you're going to possibly lose in any single trade. Professional traders only risk about 1 to 2% of their account. Now, there are lots of different rules of thumb out there, and one rule of thumb that I have read from a trader that I have learned a lot from and respect a lot from, and I won't use his name, but anyway, He says if you have an account over $100,000, you know, you really don't need to risk more than 1%. That's $1,000, right, on $100,000. You don't need to risk more than 1% if you have an account over $100,000. If you have an account between $10,000 and $100,000, then you want to risk about 2%. And so don't want to risk much more than that. And if you have an account under $10,000, then you want to risk 5%. That may seem funny, that why would I risk more when I have less money in my account? Well, the truth is, if you risk 1 or 2% of $10,000, you're risking $100 or $200, and that's okay. But when you factor in commissions and fees, which we haven't talked about yet, but when you get an account with a broker and you make trades, you've got to pay them some money too. So by the time you factor in fees, if you risk, say, just $100 on a trade in your account's, you know, small account, you know, you make some money, but a lot of that money, or, you know, good, I don't know, percentage-wise, but a portion of that money will have to go toward fees, and in the end, you really haven't made much. So if you have a small account, you might want to risk a little more than that. Now, to be fair, TD Ameritrade, in some of their educational videos, they recommend risking 3% of your account. So really, this is all just a rule of thumb. This is just guidelines. The truth is, you risk how much you feel comfortable risking. You don't want to risk so much that it's going to keep you awake at night, that's going to make you sick at your stomach to think that you might lose this much money. So if you only want to risk $50, $100, that's fine. In fact, when you first get started, risk very, very little. Just learn how to get in, how to get out, learn the techniques of trading. Don't try to make a lot of money when you first start trading if you've never traded before. In fact, you need to paper trade before you even make any trades. Paper trading is just simply what it sounds like. You look at a chart, you write down on a piece of paper, hey, I would have bought here, I would have put my stop here, and I would have exited here. So just paper trade, and there's actual virtual trading websites you can go to, and even I mentioned TD Ameritrade. They have software where you can just, what they call virtual trading, is just paper trading on the computer. So paper trade, learn how to trade, then risk a little bit of money as you start getting in there, kind of get your feet wet, risk a small amount. But then even as you grow in your knowledge of trading and experience, you still want to risk small amounts of money with your trades, because you know, one trade can blow your whole account. One bad trade can blow your whole account if you're taking too much risk. All right, I'm going to break up this video into smaller chunks. So I'm going to continue this, start at this slide on the next video, just trying to make these a little shorter and manageable. So this is kind of, this is lesson 20, and then we'll move to lesson 21. So I hope that helps a little bit.